so Assalamu alaikum. This is Faisal and with me is Awab on Bounds. Today we have a very special guest, Kalsoom Lakhani.
She flew in specially for us, yeah.
Of course. She just arrived this morning.
Of course I did, yeah.
By Concorde.
Just ride with it, just flow with it.
I'm just going to flow with it.
So you're based in Karachi, you're based in DC, I'm sorry.
I'm based in DC, yeah.
Okay. And you run Chup, Changing Up Pakistan from DC, talking about Pakistani topics. Like, how are you able to manage that?
I don't sleep. That's one way.
Yeah, because
that's very much all of us.
Yeah, I think that's all of us that are involved in the blogging, social media world. Basically, it's been harder recently, but I'm getting back into it because I just launched a startup. But generally, I write at night. So that's my time to write and to blog, and I coordinate interviews sometimes on the weekends.
So are you doing any other journalism projects as well, writing for other
I've written for, and I've been writing for Foreign Policy's AFPAC channel. I've written for Dawn before, Huffington Post, so a bunch of different others. So I feel like blogging, especially if you blog relatively well, you get asked to write for other publications.
You're actually probably more equipped to tell us about the perception of Pakistan that no local people have from abroad. We keep hearing of this perception that the media portrays. But what do local people feel? Like people you interact with every day?
Yeah, I live in D.C., so it's obviously a much more intellectual city than living, I'm not going to insult any American state other than D.C., but, living on the coast, like you just get much more people that are much more into politics, much more international relations. But generally, you'll find people that buy into the media hype, because obviously the media perception of Pakistan is through a very negative lens, and there are a lot of things that are happening that are, that we shouldn't be apologetic about. There is a lot of violence and the issue of terrorism, but there's also a lot of positive.
People understand that there's a certain part of society which is like
no.
And
it's really difficult for them to understand that I actually am from Pakistan. Yeah. So, once they do, it's like really great. It's an opportunity to create dialogue and everything like that. But most people will only really get the negative side, and they don't understand that there's a nuanced perspective of Pakistan that exists.
So how do you deal with that?
That's the reason I decided to start Chup, right? Because I felt like if I can influence one person, and as an example, one of my really good friends from graduate school, she's a white girl from Boston, and her mom reads Chup. And so her mom, who is very, conservative and everything, loves to read about, when I interview filmmakers or people that are artists and do something, write a positive article or, I think for the most part recently it's been more current analysis. But for me, that makes me feel like at least I'm making some difference. Even if it's
basically you're introducing a little bit of the good side of Pakistan.
Yeah, for me, it's been how do we provide a perspective that's more balanced than just the negative side of Pakistan.
So how did you get involved with the seed funding that you're looking at?
So my company?
Eye to eye.
For me, that's my full-time job. That's what I do. It's my bread and butter, or not butter yet. Hopefully one day I'll start making money on it. But basically, I'm living the startup life. And for me, my passion is how to be practical and action-oriented. And I love working with early-stage entrepreneurs, and especially young Pakistani entrepreneurs.
And your focus is Pakistani?
Our first market is Pakistan, and that's obviously from a personal perspective. I actually wanted to do something positive, but
somebody's catering to not catering to India actually.
Well, is this really going to turn into an India-Pakistan thing?
Someone is catering to our sector as well.
I think, honestly, when you look at the U.S. and you look at the space right now, there's a lot of investors that are looking. India is a really great market, as so is Latin America, like Brazil and Mexico.
Everybody's looking at India.
That's the reason I decided to start in Pakistan, right? Is because we're looking at markets that are untapped, but that have a lot of potential. And so in India, you see this broad environment that's developed around entrepreneurship. You see VC firms that are starting up. You see intermediate organizations, university programming, incubators, accelerators.
And I think it's only, sorry for interrupting you, but I think it's also because of the fact that Indians are very good at selling themselves.
Yeah.
And we aren't, I think.
I don't know whether it's that. I just think that, maybe it is, but I think that's something that's happened over time. It's not something that maybe,
I think Pasha is doing a great job in that.
Yeah.
Pasha is
definitely a few organizations.
But Jawad in the group, they actually, when these Pasha award winners go to APICTA in Hong Kong, they're actually groomed and trained on how to pitch yourself.
Exactly.
And I think that exercise, and when she's here, I think
that's very needed, right?
Yeah.
It's needed. They need the presentation skills. is important.
So it's not just the product; it's
the style and the networking also. I mean, I believe the funds also come by a pat on the back and a good yes. And if you socially interact and mix well, you are able to get one step in the door also.
And what's great is that Jahanar and I were just talking about, I'll be back in Karachi in January, and what we want to do is a series of workshops that are very interactive that turn into panels. And one is how to make a pitch, and then turn into like a fast pitch session where you have entrepreneurs do like quick pitches around their businesses. So it's like a practical application. And then do one around failure, because I think a big thing with entrepreneurship, especially in Pakistan, is that people don't want to start a business because they're afraid that it's going to fail, right? So if you do a whole thing around
rejection too much.
Unless you fail 1,000
unless you fail 1,000 times. If you go to the Silicon Valley in the US, most investors won't invest in you unless you failed first, because they want people that have had like that fear of failing is gone. It's like the book The Secret, which is like once you lose everything, like you're not afraid to start again, right?
So how was your trip overall, aside from all this?
It's been great. I mean, for me, like being able to meet young Pakistani entrepreneurs, meeting amazing partners, people that are already doing amazing work on the ground that we want to collaborate with. Because for us, it's so much more about how do we develop this collaborative space. Like people that are doing...
You went to Islamabad first.
Yeah, so Islamabad is always my home base.
So now you're in Karachi.
Now I'm in Karachi. I'll be in Lahore on Thursday.
How do you compare the two places?
I mean, there's...
I want an answer on camera.
I mean, no, Islamabad never comes up into the debate between Karachi and Lahore, right? And every time I brought it up, everyone's like, you can't...
Islamabad and Karachi and Lahore.
Okay, well, I mean, in terms of the entrepreneurship space, it's really Lahore and Karachi.
Okay.
But Islamabad has a lot to offer. I mean, there's a lot of...
Like what?
Beauty, hills.
For 60 plus people.
No, come on. I mean,
there's a lot of walking trails.
You go to sleep at 8 o'clock in the evening, yeah. What's the idea?
I just so listen. We have like, I mean, but a lot of the
retirement communities.
They're taking deep breaths.
But there are a lot of international organizations that are providing funding as well. They're all in.
So she went after the money, technically.
Yeah, I mean, don't we all?
So what do you think about Karachi?
That's
I mean, you visited Karachi before, obviously.
Yeah. My dad is from Karachi. So my dad's an entrepreneur himself. He's from the whole like Karachi grammarian type lot, and but he's a total self-made person. And so he actually moved to the U.S. when he was 18 with no money. Instead of going to college, he worked 2 jobs, and he started everything on his own. And then he moved back here, you know, when I was growing up and everything. But my dad, to me, is a perfect example of the type of entrepreneurs that we should be promoting. So.
Thank you,
Dad.
Yeah,
Hi, Dad.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on our show.
Thanks for having me.
This is Tasu Kapadia, Awab and Kalsoom signing off from Out of Bounds. You have
please give us some feedback if you'd like to be featured on the show, or you have something that we need to talk about. The information is coming on the feed below.
We somehow don't remember that information that goes at the bottom.
Yeah, well, we can remember a lot of things. But all right, thank you.
Out of Bounds.